On this episode of the podcast, we're going to be talking about wealth creation. So if you hate money or you've got a religious spirit, maybe click off now and go and find a different video. All right, well, if you're here, and then I guess you are in for this topic. I want to talk about wealth creation specifically for the kingdom entrepreneur, because I think there are some nuances of the way that we've chosen to live that will actually shape the way that we do our wealth creation. So obviously, I've got my journey that I can look at and learn from, but I've also got the 10,000 business clients that I've helped in a coaching capacity over the last 17 years. I've got their journeys to learn from. Some got it right, some got it wrong, and everybody in the middle. So there's a lot to learn about how to do this. And there's obviously 1,000 opinions on social media. Even before social media, there was 1,000 opinions on how best to do wealth creation. I want to make it super simple for you because actually the complexity, what it does is it causes people to delay their decision. Should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? Should I do this? There's benefits here, there's benefits here, there's benefits here, right? And so what happens is, whilst they're researching and learning and looking at the fors and against for everything, they're not investing, right? So that is typically what happens. Now, ironically, the number one factor to wealth creation and investing is time. So as long as you're burning time, like doing a fors and against of the 72 different strategies you could take, you're actually massively affecting the compound result of the wealth creation. So you're better off to pick something, which is what I'm going to try and get you to do on this episode, and then you can figure it out from there. So essentially, here's how it works. You and I, we need to have a vehicle that is a creator of wealth, and then we need to have a vehicle that is a store of wealth, right? Now, because it's a passion of mine and a strong interest, I've studied how the wealthiest people in the world have done this over the last 250 years, and there is a pattern, and it is the pattern that I adopted, and it's the pattern that has worked incredibly well for me. So essentially, this is how I would pitch it to you. The best creator of wealth, of course, is business. It's the best creator of wealth on the planet. The best store of wealth is real estate. That would be my preferred model to do this. You can break this. Like, you can find your own model. This is my model and the model of the people I studied. And I'm going to build a case as to why it's the smartest model you can go with. Now, I know that nobody would ever think that I would say this, but here's what I'm going to say. There is a place for speculative investments in the model. So what you could do is you could have your store of wealth be something like 95% real estate and 5% speculative investments. So what do I mean by that? Speculative investments would be Bitcoin, gold and silver, and minor stocks. We'll leave wine and art out because I think they're just for the ultra wealthy, because I just need tax dodges. It's not really wealth creation, right? So speculative, meaning like statistically will probably go to zero, but it could go really, really well. You could, here I am on record, saying that you could take a small portion of your investment portfolio and stack it to something like Bitcoin. By the way, I never will, but I'm saying that you could do that. You could do precious metals, minor stocks. Obviously, a minor stock that hasn't listed yet, could either list and go supernova or it's going to fall over, right? So that's what makes it speculative. I don't do that. I'm just 100% into real estate because of the reasons I'm about to show you. But you could, if you wanted, take a small portion. Now, this is very different to how most people do their speculative investments. Most people do speculative investments at the very beginning, right? Not with 5% of their wealth, with 100%. And then they just cross their fingers and hope that it all goes okay. And the majority of cases it doesn't, and so forth, right? But you could do that. So here I am on record. For those of you that think I'm a Bitcoin hater, I am. I'm just being friendly. All right, so now here's the reasons why I like this model. You've only got a finite capacity as a human. There's only so many plates you can spin. There's only so much drama you can hold. There's only so much of that stuff, right? And I guess we all have a different capacity. Well, actually, the more we build a business, the bigger our capacity gets. because the overwhelm forces us to be able to handle more. But if you think about capacity, right? I don't want my investments, my store of wealth, to require pressure, hassle, drama, and things like that. Why? Because I've got enough of it in my creator of wealth, which is business. And there's only so much of that I can handle before it cripples me. So it's like, I want to handle all of my drama up here and have very little drama down here. That's what allows me to be better in business, actually, is to make sure that I'm not divided amongst the two. Now, obviously, the safest, less drama investment you'll ever find is real estate, okay? Because it doesn't have these wild fluctuations or halving or stock prices where we find out there's been fraudulent activity and the stock price tanks, or they get a deal and it flies and tanks. Like, we don't have that in real estate, okay? So when you think about capacity as a human, I want all of my attention and the hassles here so that I can be very good there, and I don't want them here, which is why for me, it's real estate. Let me put it to you a different way. I meet a lot of people who think they're in real estate when they do flipping houses or development. Let me just tell you, if you're into flipping houses and development, you're not into real estate. You have a second business, right? Because you don't end up with any real estate, right? So, that's cool. Like, flipping houses is an okay way to do a transaction to get some money. But for me, that's here. So if I was to start flipping houses, right, all it would do would take from my ability to be great in business because I'm dividing my focus. So for me, I'd rather put all of my energy into building an actual business than trying to flip houses. Okay. Now, obviously, with development, you can buy a piece of land, you can, get a council, get a DA, get an approval, sell all of those blocks and make a profit. Great. But you didn't have a store of wealth. You had another business. When you think about real estate, the strategy, of course, is buy and hold, right? That's where all of the money is made over decades, is in buy and hold, not through transactions. Now, here's the good news. That is why this is the simplest formula for wealth creation. Have all your hassle, hard work, grind, building a business, take some of the money, put it into real estate, plan to keep your real estate for 15 to 25 years. Hopefully, for me, I'm buying real estate that my kids will knock over and build multi-houses on them, right? And that's where the store of wealth comes from, right? So that's the model. And so you don't want to get tripped up trying to make another income stream out of real estate. That's not real estate, it's just another business. It's not a store of wealth, right? Because you don't end up with any real estate. So the next question comes, if you agree with me, right, I'm going to run a business, I'm going to take my money from there and I'm going to put it into a store of wealth and I'm going to use real estate, buy and hold. Let's say you agree with me. The next question is like, what type of real estate? And of course, the internet is very divided. Should we be buying single family? No, single family is a complete waste because if you lose a tenant, you lose your income. You need to be doing multifamily. Should you buy blocks of 2 or 3 units? Or should we be going 48 and 736 and a billion houses units, right? It's like so confusing for people to get their head around that they research that one and oh, that one looks good. I'll research that one and that one. Then I'll go back here. Oh, this one's actually pretty attractive. Oh, this one's, and bam, they're dancing around. 3 years passes and they have no real estate, right? See, here's the problem. If you want to, there's essentially 2 ways to do real estate. There's you buy your own real estate and you own the portfolio, or there's put money into a fund and let them own it all, right? And they're basically using your money for their own gain. I'm not a fan of being part of a fund. Not a fan. Only because, sure, it's easy, it's lazy, it's a bit of apathy involved, but you get none of the upside, or you get a very small portion of the upside, right? I think you want to do this on your own, in your own portfolio, which may mean that you can't say to your friends that I've got 48 units because you're syndicated in a fund that has 40. Sure, you own 3 front doors of 48 units, but I would say buy your own and be in control of your own destiny. You get to decide what you do with the renovation. You get to decide what to do with tenants. You get to decide you can choose what happens when you buy your own. So here is a loose model that I think is replicatable by most people, right? What you do is you buy 3 single family homes, right? So they're just one front door. And by the way, it doesn't matter if they're units or houses. It's never really mattered whether you buy units or houses. It all ends up the same. Units are cheaper, so you actually end up owning more of them, which is more management, but a slightly higher yield than homes where you own the land, but you have less of them. That's all nuance that doesn't really matter to the end number. By 3 single family homes, and then obviously, the rent's paying them down and you can be contributing from the profit to your business or whatever. Once you've got that, you have enough equity to start to get to the point where you're buying, duplexes or triplexes, right? Buy 3 of those. Some of you are thinking, man, that's a lot of real estate. Not really. That's a lot of real estate if your investment horizon is 18 months. That's not a lot of real estate if your investment horizon is 15 years and longer, right? Because what happens is you buy 1, and then you take some profit and you buy 2, and then 2 helps you buy 3. 3 helps you get into your first duplex. Now you've got loads more cash, you're paying them down fast, it compounds faster and faster. And then afterwards, that's when you can start to get to multifamily, right? And the reason why multifamily opens up is because 1, your knowledge has grown during this time, but actually what happens is you start picking up an awful lot of equity by the fact that the loans are just paying out the principal all the way down, and then you take other profit from your business and you can start to move into this, right? Now, people say, oh, I just want to do that. Well, great, but you can't start there. Very few people can start there unless they've been able to raise capital. Start there, 1 at a time. 1, 2, 3, leapfrog to duplexes, triplex. 1, 2, 3, leapfrog to multifamily. Multifamily might be a block of 6, a block of 8, a block of 10, or whatever. And the reason why that's important is because the bank's lending criteria on those 2 is very different to that one. You can buy these at 20% down. As soon as you get here, you're at 30, 35% down. It requires a lot more capital here than it does here to get started, right? That would be a model that I would use to kind of figure out, just to get started and let the system unfold over time. You'll be amazed at how slow it all feels. And then one day it starts to gather speed and you can move a whole lot faster, all right? I'll give an example. I bought my first investment property at 19 years of age, $164,400, and that was an incredible deal. Bought a bunch more. When I married Kimberly, I bought our home. I bought it 2 weeks before we got married, because we were both living separate, of course, and then we got married and we went to our new home. And we wanted a new home after 18 months. We've been able to save a bit more money. We kept that house, just rented it out. Moved on to the next house, kept that house, rented it out. Kept that house, rented it out. Bought a bunch of real estate. But it was like hard work in the beginning. Make a bit of money, put it down. We're not going anywhere. Going without going out to dinner. Going without all the fun things. Seeing other families going on these expensive holidays. We were buying real estate. Last year, I remember I wanted to try some real estate in this little regional town and diversify the portfolio a little bit. I bought 3 houses over the phone that I'd never seen, right? Last year in a country town. In fact, still haven't seen them. And I'm doing a development in that town too. So I'll probably will end up going to that town to look at them, and I'll drive by and go, yeah, that's pretty much the photo that I bought it. I'm like it's got a great rental yield. It's got good tenants in it. They're fairly new, happy days. But that all happens because it gathers steam over time. All right. So now how do you start this journey? How do you start this journey, right? I want to look at your business now, and I want to have a conversation. What happens post-tax profit, right? Post-tax profit, right? So here's an assumption. The assumption is that you've already paid yourself a wage. If you want to run the business properly, you have your income streams, you have your cost of goods, you have your general expenses, which includes all your wages, then you have your net profit or loss. That's what the government put their hand out for their money on. You pay those, and then you've got some money left over, okay? So you've already paid yourself a wage, and your post-tax is after everything, okay? So now, here's what I reckon the options on the table are to think like a kingdom entrepreneur and think like a wealth creator. One is you want to take some of your post-tax profit and reinvest it back in the business. That's one of the things that you need to do when you make a post-tax profit. By the way, if you don't reinvest your money back in the business, it's never going to grow beyond organic growth. All right, it's going to grow at inflation, all things being equal. But you need to take some of your money and put it back in the business. Hire staff before you need them, do more marketing before you need them, those things. That's how you grow your business. The second thing you're going to want to do with your money is build legacy. Legacy. Legacy meaning generational wealth, right? And then the third thing with your money is give. So the reason why we call it generational wealth is because a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. And he who doesn't provide for his family is worse than an infidel and has denied the faith. I mean, that's scripture, if you like it or not, right? So here's the thing. With a post-tax profit, we need to decide how much of the money, how much of the post-tax am I putting back in the business? How much am I pulling out and investing? This is our real estate strategy in our example. This is legacy money, building wealth beyond my life. And then how much am I giving? Now, your job as a steward of everything God gives you is to figure out what is the ratio here for you in this current season. And the seasons will always change, okay? There might be a season where you decide to grow your business really, really quickly, take advantage of a season or an economy or a market. Well, that's going to require more capital than a season where you're like, I'm happy to grow at 10% a year or whatever, right? So then you've got to go, okay, well, what season am I in right now? And you might decide, right? Remember, this is post-tax. You've already paid your taxes on this. You might decide to go, right, I'm 50% of my post-tax back into the business. I'm 25% in legacy money, and I'm 25% giving out of your profit. By the way, don't get caught up in the 90-10 thing. I guess the only obligation you've got in terms of giving is giving out of your wage. There's no commandment in scripture to give from your business. Having said that, I definitely are looking for opportunities to be generous. But you might be in a season where you're like 75% back in the business, right? You might be looking at, 20% in legacy wealth and 5%. Okay, cool. You can figure this out. You might be like, no, we've got this massive brand uplift. It doesn't require a lot of capital to grow. I'm 25% here. I'm 75% here, or 70% and 5%. You can figure that out. What you can't do is not have a plan for generational wealth. Okay. Now, remembering, of course, that all of these are vitally important, because the money gets invested back in your business means that in the future, there's a greater profit to be able to take for legacy, to be able to give. Money that is given now shows your allegiance to the kingdom of God. And I have found that somebody generous in their giving kind of shores up their future blessing, because God's looking for those people who are generous to be able to pour out on. Those people that want to go hard on their legacy, there is an honoring of your family in amongst that, and there's an honoring of the kingdom in amongst that. If I think about my legacy line in my life, I'm building a group of companies that hold real estate. I will probably never benefit from them. I'm building that as an asset base that can throw off cash way beyond my life, and my kids will be able to fund projects, fund evangelism, and those kind of things, right? So all of this is not like this one's selfish and this one's kingdom. It's all kingdom when you're orientated that way. So here is your homework as a result of this one. First and foremost, you've got to decide on your strategy, right? Decide on your strategy. You've got to come up with what's your creator of wealth and what's your store of wealth. If you copy mine, that would be smart, not because it's mine, but because it's the one that works for most people. You've got to decide it. And then stop flip-flopping. Stop flip-flopping. Just get on with the same thing. So decide and repeat would be the first thing I would say to you, right? The second thing you've got to do is figure out your ratio in this season. How are you dividing your post-tax profit between those three areas? And then the third thing, all you've got left to do at that point is fight for profit every single month. Every single month, now that you've got the reason and the model, you know what you're fighting for. Every single month, fight for profit at every opportunity, because then you've got more money to put into these three categories. What I want to know from you is, what is the top one thing that jumped out to you on this video? I want you to put in the comments for me, what is the top one thing that jumped out? All right, see you soon.